is video 6.2, and in this video our learning target is I can solve real-world problems by graphing points and finding the distance between them. Our essential question, why would you use the absolute value of a number? Our math practice standards are 1 and 8, and in this particular video there are no new terms, although we're going to be referring to terms you've heard before, such as absolute value, coordinate plane, and ordered pair. To find the distance between 2 points, we're going to actually do two different things. One of them is a little more time consuming than the other. The first one, you can graph an ordered pair on a coordinate plane, plot those points, and count the spaces from one to the other. In the absolute value method of finding the distance, if you have 2 points that are in the same quadrant and they have one matching point, it could be the x point, it could be the y point, you're going to find the absolute value of the other point, the ones that aren't the same, and you're going to subtract. If those points that you're looking at are in different quadrants to begin with, we're going to follow the steps above, but this time, instead of subtracting their points, or their absolute values, we're going to actually add their absolute values. And we're going to look at two examples, one for each type. In the first example, you can see that I have asked you to find the distance between -5,2 and -9,2. And I have drawn a rough graph sketch of how those would be plotted. And I have counted the spaces from the one on the left to the one on the right. And I have found out that there are 4 spaces between them. Now, if I want to go that route, that's fine. But again, that's a little more time consuming. If I want to use the absolute value method, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 points that are not the same, the -9 and the -5. I'm going to find their absolute values, and then I'm going to subtract them. And since in subtraction I don't want to get a negative answer, I'm going to start with that -9 minus the -5. And remember, the reason I'm subtracting is because they are in the same quadrant. The absolute value of -9 is +9, because absolute value, we never have a negative distance. And when you're thinking about how far things are apart from one another, that's why you would want to use the absolute value. That's what our essential question was asking. Absolute value of -5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. And you can see that's what we came up with when we graphed it. Now, if you come over to example 2, and want to know what the distance is between 3, -5.5, and 3, 2.25, we are going to graph those, and we're going to notice that even though they have the same x value, they are in opposite quadrants. Okay? They do not have the same ordered pairs set up. I've graphed them here, and I have actually gone through to count and found out that they are 7 3/4 spaces apart. Now, in a problem like this, it might be a whole lot easier to do the absolute value because you don't want to have to graph those halves and quarters and worry about making the mistake there. So again, we take our two numbers, -5.5 and 2 1/4. We're going to find the absolute value of those. Now, since we know that they are in different quadrants and we know we're going to add, it doesn't matter which one of those I write down first. I'm just going to go with habit and write down the larger one, or the larger looking one, first. The absolute value of -5.5 is going to be 5 1/2, plus the absolute value of 2 1/4, which is 2 1/4. And then I'm going to add 5.5 and 2 1/2. The two fractions together add up to give me 3/4. My whole numbers add together to give me 7. 7 3/4, which is what I counted when I did it the other way.